Hello, welcome to another App Store optimization session with Incipia. Today, I'm going to take you through a brief analysis of a few different apps on the iTunes App Store and Google Play Store live and just do some feedback on some of the apps that pop up. Just to give you a sense of process and thought process for doing ASO. So these are apps that I haven't seen before, and I'm just going to go through and give you some tips and pointers. So first we'll take this app that returns for diet. So what's good and what's bad about this app? Looks like they're using their full title for keywords, and they've got weight loss, healthy, diet, meal, plan, all those probably pretty weighty keywords in their title, which is the best place to rank, so that's good. They've got an icon that is got some custom design here. See the shadows under the plate, some different colored icons here. It reminds you of a plate, so it has to do with the keyword, the main keywords that it is probably going to be found for. They've got, let's see, reviews and ratings. Got 4 stars, so that's pretty good, but only 201 ratings overall. And so they might want to put a little effort into increasing their volume of reviews. Let's just see how old they are. Yeah, so since 2014, they should probably have more reviews than 201, given that it's especially a free app. So got the title, got the icon, screenshots. Can't tell here whether they have a video first or not, but looks like they've got captions for each screenshot that are short, 1 line long. 1 or 2 lines is good. Beyond that, 3 or 4, it gets a little convoluted. They're very action oriented, which is good as well. Stop counting, start visualizing, make smart choices, even in restaurants. So it tells you, looks like the use case. And then you've got nice attractive screenshots here in a different color for the phone background, which helps you differentiate between the captions and the actual screenshot itself. It's a subtle touch, but a nice one. Another thing that's really good here is we did a study of the top 100 apps and looked at their screenshots and for best practices. One thing that we see here is that the full phone is in this screenshot. And we found, and this looks like an iPhone 7, we found that including the full phone and a real phone at that, rather than an animated style or a partial phone, we only see part of the screenshot, did do better than a partial or animated style screenshot. So they're using 2 best practices, using the real phone and using the full phone in the screenshot. So those are all good things. And then their description, so these are the first 5 lines here, what people are going to see before they click them more. Straightforward description, best way to lose weight through healthy eating. So there's a kind of a call to action, a use case here. Keep you motivated, that's good. Again, it tells you what this app is for and some of the features that are in it. So this is pretty good. We see a lot of social proof here in the first 5 lines of description. A lot of branding where it's just kind of talking about how great the app is, but not a lot of substance. And then features. And we see that features and sometimes social proof tend to do pretty well, especially for a keyword result, where somebody's going to be coming in and they may not be familiar with what your app is. It's not, if your app isn't big and branded, then you're probably going to want to go with features or social proof in your first 5 lines of the description. Clicking into more, looks like they've got some bullet points is good here. They've got a section header in capitals. Section headers we tend to see in capitals or with some symbols around the edges of it so that people can differentiate that it is a caption header. So it's usually features or use cases or how to use the app. And then we see bullet points which help people organize when reading things. Now this is a strange bullet point to use. From our study of the top 100 apps, it looked like the traditional dot bullet is the best thing to use, and then other variations like something like this tend to do not as well, but it does draw attention to each one of these things. So they've got a bullet header and then a dash. So diet plans with healthy meal ideas, more information here. So this is a good format. There's no inherent feature list listed out here, and people sometimes look for feature lists, so sometimes it's nice to actually say features or use cases or something that people would immediately recognize. There's also no contact or social links here. That's something that apps tend to include in their description a lot. And sometimes apps include user reviews. We sometimes see that those do a little bit worse, but overall this is okay. Especially in iOS when the description doesn't rank for keywords, you really don't need a long description. And the longer it is, we're going to be publishing some new research based on keyword searches in the apps that return that indicates that the shorter your description is, actually the better your rank is. So in iOS, shorter description is good, so this app is following some best practices in description and icon and screenshots. So overall, pretty good app. Further things that we could take a look at are look at the user reviews and see what people are actually, look at the most helpful app, or the most helpful review, and see what the concerns or what the opportunities that the person is saying they like are. And that can be pulled into the description and the screenshots using the same language that the person uses in their reviews is also good to do in the description or screenshots. So they want accuracy with measurements. Groceries is something that they care about. Here's a use case, college kids that need help. So these are things that we can pull into a budget limited. So that's one thing that they care about, and maybe other people care about as well. Pulling this stuff into the description is something that is good, and screenshots as well. Stop counting, start visualizing. So this app could test out a caption that relates more exactly to and describes what's happening in the screenshot. So you can see here that we have 214 calories for 3 items of food in this dinner. So they could say something about count how many. They could mention the word calories, and that's probably something that's important. They could mention the word diet in here. That's what we searched, and that's probably a high volume keyword in the caption. Restaurants refers to what's happening in the screenshot, so that's good. Make smart choices is good, but they may be able to say something a little more relevant here and say, plan your meal, stick to the diet, even in restaurants, or something that is a little more specific to the use case that people are going to be using this for. So they could also experiment with switching around the captions in order to see which one does best. It's difficult to test on iOS screenshots, given that you either have to just push a new build with different screenshots or different order and see pre-post how well it does. And there could be other changes made as well that could skew your data, or you need to use a third-party testing platform like Splitmetrics or Store Maven, and those can also be skewed, given you have to push Facebook or advertising or something else traffic, which is not the same as in App Store impressions from a search or from a category view or from a featured list. So it's difficult to test on iOS, and sometimes we recommend that you just use, if you have an Android app, use the learnings from that and try to push those over to iOS and see whether they hold out well with a pre-post analysis after you push the screenshot. So there's one for iOS. Now let's take a look at a random keyword for Google Play. Let's see. Let's just go with water. Okay, water drink reminder. So here, and we have a plugin that I'll include a link in the description for this YouTube video too that will pull in the short description into the web view so that you don't have to look at something in an Android app to see where the short description is. It's pretty handy. So we did a search for water, and this was one of the apps that came up, and the icon is very well reminiscent of the keyword that we searched, so that's great. You've got the water glass here, you've got a little bit of shadowing here, which sometimes resonates well with users. They see a well-designed app icon, and they think that, it usually you associate that with a well-designed app if someone is going to be putting in effort to do good design in their icon. There's also this timer here, which relates to the use case of this app. So making sure that over the course of the day you're drinking enough water. So every, maybe it's 2 hours, they remind you to drink water. So this is a very well designed icon. It's also 2 colors, white and green, and having a very simple icon seems to do pretty well from our research, where you're not having a ton of different colors, a lot of different things happening in the icon. It's plain, it's simple, but it works. So they are using their title for some keywords, and Google Play in Android only has 30 characters for title versus 50 characters for iOS. So it's a bit more squash and you have less room to work with, but you've got water, you've got drink, and reminder, though. Reminder may be a lesser important keyword. It may just be related to... Okay, so there's some autofill results coming in from reminder, but perhaps another keyword might... Well, we've got a trade-off here between using the title for ranking well for keywords and the purpose of the app. And sometimes, it can be a challenge between wanting to rank well for keywords and making sure that your app makes sense when people look at it. So this is probably fine, given that we've got limited space to work with, and we want to explain to people that it's a water drink reminder. So, short description goes with a curious approach. It opens with a question that's probably going to grab you more than just a statement. So, did you drink enough water today? Actually, did I? And so it makes you stop and think for a minute, and that increases engagement with the app and is a good thing. And then they give you the value here, and basically the value of using the app. So it's good for your skin and weight loss, which infers that this app is going to help you basically lose weight and have more rejuvenated skin by drinking enough water. So testing out short descriptions is a very important thing in Google Play. It's very easy to do. You've got the experiments platform that you can push A/B tests, A, B, C, D tests out for the icon, the short description, the full description, the screenshots, the feature graphic, all sorts of things. So continually testing this to make sure that to make sure that what you've got out here converts and produces the best results. Also, keep in mind that your short description and your full description in Google can rank for keywords. So it's another trade-off where sometimes you may want to put some keywords in the short description so that you can rank better in searches, but you also want to make sure that your short description is converting users well. And more often than not, you'll want your short description to be focused on conversion rate rather than keywords. But again, keywords are always a consideration wherever they can produce rank. So now going down, we'll go to the reviews as we did first with the iOS app. So one thing that we look for often with apps and clients in Google Play is whether they are responding to the reviewers, because that's one thing that you can do in Google that you cannot do in iOS, and it's really it shows good engagement on the developers end that users can see when they go in and look at the reviews. They can see reviews of users, they can see what the developer is replying with, and so it builds credibility with users that you as the developer are engaged with the users and you're not just letting these reviews just go into a black hole, you're listening to them. So we wrote a post about why should you reply to your user reviews in our blog, and we'll post a link to that as well. But you should reply to both positive reviews by really engaged, happy users, and negative reviews naturally. So with negative reviews, you're going to want to address the issue that the person has brought up, and if possible, give them an email address to reach out to provide more information. Also, if they've noted a bug, then you can tell them that you've identified it. Thank you for mentioning that. We've logged it. We're going to be working on it for the next release. And once you have fixed that bug, you want to go back to their review and say, hey, we fixed it. Would you mind giving us a higher star rating because we've addressed your problem? And oftentimes the user will say, oh, thank you very much for addressing the issue. I'm going to change my review to a 4 or a 5 out of 5. And sometimes they'll include that mention in the review that the issue is fixed. Now this is a 5-star. So this app is not replying to any users, which is a missed opportunity. Something they could do. But overall, they have a 4.6 with 460,000 ratings, which is really good. 4.6 is great. Anything above 4.5 is very good. Anything above a 4.0 is pretty good. So this app is pretty good here. Got a decent number of installs. They're updating it kind of regularly. It's about 2 weeks since they last pushed another update. Now going into the actual app itself and looking at the screenshots first. So they've got an on-brand design color here with a little bit of a gradient here, which is nice to have consistency between the icon and the screenshots. And if we looked at this in an Android phone, we would probably see this green show up in the feature graphic as well, and that's a nice touch. They've got action-oriented captions here again. Easy to read, very large and legible, which is nice. They've got the keyword mentioned and the purpose here again. Reminder, drink water every day. Then you've got a bit of a description of what this screenshot in the app actually does, which is nice. Track your drinking habits. Okay, and then you've got a graph showing you your drinking habits over time, today versus the weekly average. So this is good in that it's action-oriented and telling you a benefit of the app and describing the screenshot. And this is nice as well because it shows, this is a tactic that some apps are using more and more, where you show multiple devices in a screenshot. So we've seen some apps use a phone screenshot and a watch screenshot and a tablet screenshot as well to allude or to illustrate the fact that the app is available on multiple devices, which people who have those devices will be happy to see. So this is showing you that this is set up for Android Wear, or the wearables for Android, so that's good. And it's also a good benefit that you can get reminders easier by not even having to dig into your pocket. It's on your watch. So added your cups, customization here, that's good to see in a screenshot and a caption. People like customization, personalization, and you should show that if it is available in your app. In another tracking screenshot, and they have quite a few screenshots here. Not sure where tablets start. But another thing here that they have is the screenshot is outside of a phone profile. And we're seeing this trend pop up more and more in Google and sometimes in iOS as well, where the developer's not using a phone profile in the screenshot, which can take up more space and make the screenshot less legible or less noticeable. So not only are we seeing apps do a lot of screenshot only in a screenshot with a caption, but we're seeing a lot of apps just skip the captions and go with screenshot full screen only. We've tested this a few times. Sometimes it works better to just have a screenshot only, no captions. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. You should figure out for your own app which works better. But the main benefit to doing a full screen capture or a full screen screenshot is so that people can read what's happening on the screenshot better, and you don't have anything cut off in the screenshot. So if this developer were to maybe shrink this screenshot a little bit or the captions and include the full screenshot in this first screenshot, then that would probably do a little bit better than this if users are concerned with not being cheated by saying, well, I don't know what's happening down here, or I don't know what may be down here. Including the full screenshot in the view could be a way to overcome that, and you should A/B test that. Of course, another thing that you want to test, given, especially in Google, given that you can test things very easily, is to test different screenshots themselves, as well as orders. So perhaps there may be the drinking habits, data tracking may be the thing that's most important to users. And if you put it first as a screenshot, or if you pull this screenshot into the number 2 or number 1 spot, you could see a better conversion rate. There could be other screenshots in this app that users care most about. So continually testing your screenshots is very important. So here, this app in the description is taking advantage of some formatting, which is nice from Google Play. You can do bold, underline, italicized, line breaks, a few other things. And it's also using social proof, one of the things that apps often use. So you got best 2016 app, top trending, best self-improvement app selected by Google Play. So this is carrying some good authority because it's saying this was not just anyone, this is Google Play, the store that you are going and looking for apps through. Then you have a straightforward description of the app, which is always good to include in the opening description line. The benefit, again, this is a repeat from the short description. And we've seen that repeating a value prop in the short description and in the first few lines of the long description produces better results than using the value proposition in one or the other. So that's one thing for you to test as well. Again, we got the feature. This may be a little redundant because they've already got this selected by Google Play. This space could be used for something else, and they should test other information putting that here. It's also interesting that they've separated out the social proof in the first line as well as this line down here with general information about what the app is in between. It's possible that they A/B tested and found that separating out does better. It's possible that this was just the way that they went, but testing is the name of the game. Okay, so they're very into social proof. It's likely that they did test this, I imagine, given that it's everywhere. But anyway, they're continuing to use the bolding throughout the app. They've got some bullets here, some asterisks. That's good to see. Again, they don't have any contact information, which is nice to see for users. But they've got key features and benefits, so basically use cases. This is nice to see these two sections. There are many other types of sections that you can include in your Google Play description or your iOS description, and you should test different descriptions to see how they do. Other description types are how to use this app. So step 1, do this, step 2, step 3, step 4. Just a straightforward start to finish for users. You can have, let's see, what else could we do with this description? Doing some ad lib, some live optimization. You could talk about this differentiators. Differentiators is a section that we're starting to see more of, or perhaps noticing more of, with some of the apps that we work with, where competitors will specifically mention what makes us different from other apps in the category. And that's one thing that users will be concerned about. You know, why should we download, especially if you're in a commoditized app category? Water drink reminders is probably a lot of these. Why should we download your app as opposed to other apps? And that's what this social proof is trying to get to. We are the best app, is what this is saying. But when it comes to features, maybe there are some features that your users like, the features that your app has that the other apps don't, or things that users mention about your app that other apps don't have. So again, checking user reviews to figure out what your differentiators are is something that will be pretty useful for either the iOS or Google Play app stores or Google Play stores. So we see that while there is mentioned a very healthy amount in this app description, so that's probably giving them I think they were number 2, and reminder pops up a few times, but it's the full app title. When you're doing research, you can look at your competitors and just look at their description and find keywords that you see that pop up multiple times and just see how optimized they are for those keywords. Basically, how often do they mention those? One theory that we're developing and doing some research on is that in Google Play, it's possible that Google looks at a couple different factors for determining whose apps are most relevant. It's possible that Google looks at the volume or the frequency, the count of words in your description compared to other apps that rank for that keyword. So there are other mentions of it. Let's say, for simplicity's sake, that this app has 42 mentions of the word water. And if we look at this one, this is a very interesting side note experiment to run, which is some apps we're seeing from our screenshot study are starting to use kind of pop-off UIs. So taking elements from the app, from the phone or the screenshot, and popping them off of the app using shadows and things to make it more noticeable. And this is usually done with naturally the focus of the screenshot, the most important UI or feature in the screenshot. We've seen this more on iOS and Android, but it is an interesting trend that's popping up. So here we have only 27 mentions of the word water. So if we go by this theory, then it's possible that this app will rank worse than this app for water. There is a consideration that there is some threshold over which there are too many mentions and the app is considered to be spamming, and it's possible that Google looks at the average frequency of a word for all the other apps that return in the top 10 apps or something to figure out what that threshold for spamming the keyword is. We haven't necessarily seen adverse results from including a keyword too many times in a description, but it's possible that Google does harbor some sort of penalty. Sometimes they will reject your update because it includes keyword stuffing in the metadata, which is not really a problem. You just submit again. Another theory is that here we have, well, we could count these in Word, but let's say that we have 3,000 characters here, or let's just say 500 words. And so we have the word water that appears 42 times, let's just say in this. So another theory is that, especially we see a lot of apps with short descriptions ranking very well for keywords. And using the prior theory that including a keyword as many times as, including a keyword more times than not, or more times than fewer times, if that is the best way to rank for keywords, then apps with shorter descriptions would probably be at a bit disadvantaged because there's not enough room to include the keyword. So one other theory is that it's possible that Google looks at the ratio of a keyword to all the other keywords in an app's description and says that keywords with high ratios are what the app is relevant for. And that is sort of like a zero-sum game where you can't necessarily rank very well for every keyword because it's a ratio game. So that could be something that would be appealing for a keyword ranking algorithm like Google's. But just a couple theories, something for us to continue testing for you to consider as well. But one other thing this app does that's good is that it asks a bunch of different questions, and they've already started this trend here. But asking questions, again, is a good way to get the user curious and engaged, and then you present the answer to those questions, which is basically your app and what it can help do for you. So overall, this is a pretty good description. They've got good screenshots, a good icon, relevant title, a short description that seems like it's engaging, good reviews and ratings, or good ratings. They could test a few other sections. They do have key features though, which is nice. FAQ is another section that some apps include to positive results, and we've seen positive results from it. As with iOS, you'll want to include, or you want to continually test the opening lines, the first 5 lines of your description, to see what produces the best results, given that these will be, this area right here will appear before the user has to click more. And then you'll want to make sure that the keywords that you're optimizing for are basically pushed into more of the below the fold, lower area of the description, where probably fewer people will bother to scroll down, and that makes it more appealing for pushing keyword volumes into your description. So that's our analysis of a couple apps. We'll probably do this again in a few weeks here. Just do a little ongoing look at different apps and comment on what we think they're doing well or not so well. Got a couple of pretty good apps this time, but we'll see next time. We'll try and find an app that's a little less optimized and give some suggestions for that. If you have any apps that you'd like us to review, please feel free to send us a note. hello@incipia.co. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter and other social channels, and follow our blog and our email list, and you'll get reminders about videos like this and posts that we do. So thanks for watching.